if we believe and feel that I am the body, then it will seem to us that part of our experience takes place on the inside and part of our experience on the outside. It will seem as if experience is divided into two essential parts. An inside part made out of mind, and an outside part made out of matter. The inside part, thoughts, images, feelings, sensations, we consider to be me. The outside part, perceptions of the world, we consider to be not me. So it is this I am the body belief and feeling that is responsible for the essential division of experience. Into two separate parts, self and other, mind and matter. The reason why science finds it so impossible to give up its materialist paradigm is because the scientists involved are deeply wedded to the I am the body belief. However, if we understand and feel that I am awareness, then it becomes obvious to us that all experience takes place on the inside. That is, takes place in awareness. Now, I know that for some of you this is obvious, but let's just go very slowly for those of us for whom it is not yet completely obvious. I suggest you start with your eyes closed to begin with. Allow a thought or a series of thoughts to arise. And feel that those thoughts appear in me. None of us have any problem with that. Everybody, even from a conventional point of view, understands and feels that their thoughts appear inside themselves. So just listen to the sound of your thoughts. Feel that those sounds take place inside you. Don't be interested in the content of your thoughts. Just listen to them as abstract sounds as you might listen to music. listen to whatever sounds are taking place in what, from a conventional point of view, is considered to be outside me. Just listen to the sounds without attributing any content or meaning to them. Go back and forth from the sound of your thoughts to the sound of this voice. And just go back and forth, visiting each one, until it is completely obvious to you that both these sounds appear in the same space. You direct your attention to the sound of your thoughts, and you direct your attention to the sound of this voice or whatever other sounds are present. And as you go back and forth between the two, see if your attention ever crosses a border. See if your attention ever leaves consciousness. See if your attention ever leaves the inside of me and enters a space called the outside world. Be very specific. Try to find that border, if indeed it is there. The border where your attention leaves awareness and enters a realm called the world outside awareness. Discover in this way that the border between the inside of me and the outside of me is not there. If we believe I am the body, then the border is the skin. But if we understand I am awareness, then there is no border. Attention never leaves awareness. The border is on the map, but it is not in the territory. It's like walking from England into Wales. You never find the line on the ground that distinguishes the two. It's the same thing here. The border between the inside and the outside of experience, the inside and the outside of me, is never found. Attention never leaves awareness. Now give your attention to the tingling sensation behind the eyes. That sensation, even from a conventional point of view, is taking place in me. And now place your hand on your chair. A new sensation arises, and from a conventional point of view, this sensation is a sensation of something outside of me, made out of something other than me, called matter. And now with your attention again, go back and forth between these two sensations. The sensation labeled tingling behind the eyes, and the sensation labeled hand on chair. Drop the labels, just experience the raw, unnameable sensation. Ask yourself the question, do these two sensations appear in the same space of awareness? In other words, in the same space of myself? Or does one sensation appear in me and another sensation appear in not me, that is, the world? And don't just be interested in the sensations, be interested in the space between the sensations. As your attention travels through this space from one sensation to the other, try to find that border again. The border between the me and the not me. The border between inside awareness and outside awareness, if indeed there is one. Go back and forth between the two sensations until it is absolutely clear to you, not only at the level of thought, but until you feel that these two sensations appear in the same space of awareness. And now just allow your attention to wander freely wherever it pleases, encountering thoughts, images, feelings, sensations, sounds. Don't be particularly interested in the content of any experience. Notice that whatever your attention encounters appears in the same field, in the same aware field. It's a field without divisions within it, without compartments within it. This field is seamless. The field itself is empty of objects. And anything our attention encounters is an object appearing within this seamless field, this seamless aware field. Now, instead of directing your attention to the objects that appear within this field, start exploring the field itself. Venture with your attention as far as you can go in this field and try to find an edge to it. Try to find an edge to the empty, aware field in which your experience appears. In this way, feel. Don't just understand, but feel that you, this empty, aware field in which all experience appears, has no limit. It has no border. Our attention never leaves it. Our attention never encounters any experience outside this field. wherever we do this experiment, be it here, in our homes, if we were on the moon, if we ever land on Mars, we could do this experiment and we would have to admit, I never encounter anything outside awareness. That is, I awareness never encounters any experience that takes place outside of itself. I'm not speaking of some extraordinary experience that I am having and that you are not having. I'm just articulating clearly an experience that each of us is having. We may not have noticed it before, but whether we notice it or not, it is still a fact, an undeniable fact of experience. All experience appears in awareness. And I am that awareness. The body appears in me. I do not appear in it. Ask yourself the question, what is the essential nature of this field? Don't think about it, don't work it out with your mind. You are experiencing it, by which I mean you are the empty, aware field in which your experience, that is, in which the mind, the body, and the world are appearing. The mind, the body, and the world are continuously appearing and disappearing in this field. What about the field itself? What is its nature? That is, what is your nature? What is the nature of I? Ask yourself the question, does this empty, aware field gain or lose anything by the appearance or disappearance of any particular object? Is the field ever stained or hurt or modified when an object appears or disappears? although this field touches intimately every object that appears within it, each object leaves the field completely untouched. This field is always in the same pristine condition. It doesn't have to be purified or emptied or silenced or expanded. It is already essentially pure, pure in the sense that it is not mixed with any of the limitations of objects. It is already inherently empty. Its nature is already peace itself. No activity or inactivity of the mind could increase or decrease its inherent peace. Now notice that every experience we have, thoughts, images, feelings, sensations, sights, sounds, tastes, etc., they all appear and disappear in this empty, aware field. Ask yourself the question: when an object appears, where does it come from? Take a thought, for instance. Thoughts are always appearing and disappearing. What does the thought arise out of? Where does it come from? Something that appears must come from somewhere. Something that disappears must go somewhere. And don't say, I don't know. You are experiencing the appearance and disappearance of thoughts within yourself. Therefore, you must be experiencing whatever it is they arise from and disappear into. Do the thoughts arise from a place outside the empty, aware field? Hopefully, everybody answers no to that question, because we have already discovered that We never find a place. There is no such place. Our world culture is founded on the presumption that consciousness resides somewhere inside the head, and that everything else resides outside consciousness. This is the fundamental presumption upon which our world culture is founded. And yet nobody has ever found this place. It is purely abstract, conceptual thinking that bears no relation to experience whatsoever. Go back to the thought. Where does it arise? It obviously arises in awareness. Now ask yourself the question, what is there present in the empty field of awareness prior to the arising of the thought? There is just the empty field of awareness. Now ask yourself the question, then what is the thought made of? It must be made of whatever is present in the empty field prior to its arising. What is that? Empty awareness. The thought is made of that. There is nothing in awareness other than awareness, out of which the arising thought could be made. In other words, when the thought appears, no new substance comes into existence. The thought is a temporary modulation of the eternally existing presence of awareness. It is a modulation, a temporary modulation of the ever-present substance of awareness. And as such, the thought gives awareness a temporary name and form. Or we could say awareness itself assumes a temporary name and form as it takes the shape of the thought. It is awareness itself that begins to vibrate within itself. Every thought is a particular vibration of awareness, appearing in awareness, known by awareness, made of awareness. But if we ask, what is it that is vibrating in the form of the thought? The only stuff there is awareness or consciousness itself. When the thought vanishes, the substance out of which it was made doesn't vanish. It simply ceases vibrating in the form of that thought. its reality, the reality of the thought, that is the stuff it was made of, doesn't go anywhere. It simply ceases assuming a particular name and form. And then the next moment, it vibrates with a different frequency and a different amplitude. And then awareness ceases to vibrate at that particular amplitude and frequency, and the sound vanishes. But the stuff out of which the sound was made hasn't gone anywhere. It has simply resumed its native state, its original condition. All experience, if we explore it in this way, and I encourage you to take time to explore all experience in this way. Pleasant experiences, the unpleasant ones, our most loving feelings, our most unloving feelings, our most intelligent thoughts, our most unintelligent thoughts, all experience appears in awareness, is known by awareness, and is made of awareness. But no experience, no form that awareness assumes ever actually divides the field of awareness into separate objects and selves. It is always one indivisible, borderless field. There are no separately existing objects or selves in this field. Just like a crowd of 10,000 people seen in a movie. Don't divide the screen into 10,000 parts. It's always the same indivisible screen. This field, this aware field, is the reality from which all appearances derive their apparent existence. All objects and selves borrow their apparent existence, their apparent individual existence, from this indivisible, empty, aware field. In religious terms, this field is called God's infinite being. That's what it means, in whom we move and live and have our being. All objects and selves have their being in God's infinite being. Their apparent existence is God's infinite, indivisible being. There is no other substance present in experience. the existence of individual selves and objects is only real from the illusory point of view of one of those selves. In other words, it is only from the point of view of one of the people in the crowd of 10,000 that there are 10,000 separate people. And from each of those 10,000 points of view, there are 10,000 separate objects or others. But from the point of view of the screen, which is the reality of the appearance of 10,000 people, there is just its own seamless, borderless, indivisible self. The screen never experiences the multiplicity and diversity of objects and others. Infinite consciousness knows nothing of a multiplicity and diversity of finite experience. The infinite can only know the infinite. The finite can only know the finite. It is only from the illusory point of view of the finite that there are finite selves and objects. In other words, the mind superimposes its own limit on what it observes and thinks that that limit is inherent in what it observes. It is not. The limit is in the way we see, not what we see. And go to the experience of the body. If we label that experience body, then it seems to be something made of matter, solid, dense, limited, located. Remove the label body and replace it with the label sensing. If our eyes are closed, our only experience of the body is sensing. The experience of sensing is made of mind, not matter. Nothing has changed. The experience remains identical. Only the label has changed. But with the change of label, we seem to experience the body in a new way. No longer something solid, dense, limited, located, made out of matter. Sensing is just mind. See that it's not sensing of the body. The of the body is added by thought. It's just sensing. Just mind. See that the mind does not appear in something called a body, but the body appears in the mind. In fact, the body doesn't appear in the mind, the body is mind. All there is to the body is sensing. Not sensing of a body, just sensing. But that's only halfway. See that all there is to sensing is the knowing of it. The only substance present in sensing is knowing, pure experiencing, consciousness. In fact, just as it was not sensing of the body, but just sensing, see that it is in fact not knowing of sensing, but just knowing. All there is to the experience of sensing is knowing. All that is there is consciousness. In the first step, we reduce matter to mind. In the second step, we reduce mind to consciousness. But notice that your experience hasn't changed. Your experience of the so-called body is the same now as it was 5 minutes ago. In other words, matter, mind, and consciousness are not 3 different substances. They are 3 different ways of experiencing. They are 3 different names we give to 3 different perspectives. In each case, the only stuff present is consciousness. If we identify consciousness with the body, experience seems to be made out of stuff called matter. If we identify consciousness with thoughts and feelings, experience seems to be made out of stuff called mind. And if we identify consciousness with itself alone, then experience conforms to that understanding and is known and felt to be made of consciousness alone. So those are the essential 3 steps on the spiritual path. The first, I am awareness. The second, this awareness that I am is a borderless, indivisible, inherently peaceful field in which all experience appears and with which it is known. And then the third step, everything that appears in awareness is made of awareness. All that remains, once these 3 steps have been clearly seen, is to try to lead our lives in a way that is consistent with this feeling understanding. That is to think, to feel, to act, to perceive and to relate in a way that is consistent with the implications of this new perspective.